Glitchlet. Read from the Creepypasta wiki. Do you remember when you first discovered glitches in Pokemon? I remember when I did. Summer 1999 at Kingswood Summer Club. Pokemon Red and Blue was released the previous year, which I guess would make me 8 or 9. The Pokemon craze was in full swing over here in the UK. Every day, I packed up my Pikachu Yellow Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red permanently slotted into its top. My friends and I would get together with our link cables for epic trading and battle sessions that lasted for the whole day, or until one of our parents came to pick us up. Around midsummer, our group was starting to feel like we'd seen it all and done it all. Sure, I didn't think we'd ever caught 'em all. Back then, it seemed like an impossibility. We had grinded to level 100, eliminated the Elite Four more times than we could remember. The game was starting to lose its draw, and there were still 4 long weeks of summer left. Then, we saw Missing No. I remember the first kid to have him. He told us that his brother showed him how to catch this super rare, super awesome Pokemon. We gathered round as he revealed this Pokemon to us, that magical, distorted, reverse L shape that held the key to infinite rare candies. We were all instantly in love and dying to get one of these rare Pokemons for ourselves. So, he passed on the secret and showed us how. Within the next few days, our little group was hooked on glitches. We scoured magazines for the latest bugs and tricks. We visited Glitch City, battled all kinds of high-level Pokemon off the coast of Cinnabar. We even caught Mew. But there was one glitch, which I've never been able to find a record of since. Funnily enough, I can't remember the details of how to pull it off, but I remember the outcome. Glitchlet. The technique for finding this little guy followed the pattern of a lot of tedious Pokemon encounter bugs in Red and Blue. Talk to this dude, fly to this place. It might have had something to do with Celadon, I'm not really sure. Glitchlet was just as you'd expect. A glitched up Diglett. The sprite was mostly intact, but the face was distorted, Missing No style. There were a few distorted lines through it, like scan lines, and the cry was a little weird too, although I can't put my finger on what it was. His level was never visible, but we guessed it must have been over 100, as we could hardly put a mark on him while trying to catch him. Most of us resorted to one out of many cloned Master Balls. We named him Glitchlet, and that night we were eagerly trying out what this guy could do. The next day, we all met up to compare results. By this point, we all considered ourselves Pokemon glitch experts. Experiences with Glitchlet were varied. One guy claimed it messed his game up so bad he couldn't play anymore and had to reset. Others said they tried to battle with Glitchlet, only to find the game crashed every time they tried. I had the most luck in battles with the new glitch Pokemon. His only move was Dig, and he couldn't learn any HMs or TMs, even those you'd expect a Diglett to be able to learn. Against wild Pokemon, Glitchlet was a powerhouse. He never lost PP, and together we OKO'd every Pokemon we came across. But the attack itself was odd. It took 2 turns, as usual, but after the first turn, he'd be hit with some sort of self-damaging recoil. There was no explanation other than Diglett was hurt, and that strange cry. But it never made much of a mark on him. Glitchlet's HP was higher than anything I'd ever seen, and because it only took one dig to destroy any wild Pokemon, it was never really a problem. I laid waste to my friend's teams during linked battles, and he soloed the Elite Four. I remember when things got even stranger. I was leveling a team using the Experience All. Destroying wild Pokemon with Glitchlet seemed to be the obvious choice, and I'd maxed out many Pokemon this way in the past. I'd woken up early that morning to level especially, and had spent all day KOing wild Pokemon. At that moment, I was under my bed covers with my trusty Game Boy Color light. Mom would go mad if she knew I wasn't asleep at this time. Everything was going to plan, and my new team was leveling up beautifully. I must have been concentrating pretty hard, because it was too late when I noticed how low Glitchlet's health had become. I selected Dig for the final time, and watched him begin to descend into the ground. As expected, I received the message Diglett was hurt. I heard that piercing cry, louder than before, and my stomach turned as I watched his health bar slide towards 0. The bar doubled back on itself, and seemed to empty 4 or 5 times before Glitchlet repeated his dying cry, now a horrible noise. Diglett was killed. Do you want to use the next Pokemon? I know it's cliché in these kind of stories, but I remember that vividly. I selected no. My other team members wouldn't have made a mark on this enemy Pokemon anyway. I was warped to the overworld and found myself back in the unknown dungeon. Opening my Pokemon menu confirmed what I'd seen before. My beloved Glitchlet at the top of the party, health reduced to 0. I selected him. I'm not sure what good I thought it might have done, and noticed that something was different. Maybe it was there before, but I think I would have noticed that Dig was now selectable outside of battle. I thought for a moment, maybe it was the atmosphere, but this move was suddenly chilling me. Glitchlet had never been damaged by any wild Pokemon, only by this move. It wasn't even as though he's hurt himself in confusion or with recoil. Whatever had hurt and ultimately killed him had been underground all along, waiting, sapping Glitchlet's life each time I sent him to attack. His death cry echoed in my ears as I realized what I'd done. My thumb hovered over the A button, my brain willing myself to dig and get out of the cave, but my stomach felt sick. What was down there anyway? I was stuck with a choice. The exit was too far away. My remaining Pokemon would be destroyed if I tried to get out of there. With a lump in my throat, I dug, and my sprite began spinning into the earth, and the screen went black. I wasn't surprised when I realized where I was. Not the entrance to the cave, or even the nearest Pokemon Center, but a glitched-out cave that I now realize was some kind of bugged-out version of Diglett's cave. I checked my Pokemon and saw Glitchlet's health had been restored. He was now my only Pokemon, the other 5 members of my team missing entirely. I chose Dig again. Oak scolded me. Apparently, this wasn't the time to use that. With no means of escape, I set off looking for the exit. My sprite moved slowly, more of a crawl than a walk. As I moved, the cave's walls bugged out, turning red, flexing and swelling in and out like the lungs of a monster. Slowly, music began to play. High-pitched and distorted and horrible. It was quiet at first, but grew louder with every step. As it played, something became familiar. A familiar tune beneath the whirring, bugged notes. Without thinking, I began to mouth the words to the music. Diglett, dig. Diglett, dig. Trio, trio, trio. Diglett, dig. Diglett, dig. Trio, trio, trio. Then, I encountered a Pokemon. A wild duck trio appeared. As the distorted battle music began, the level 225 duck trio appeared before my eyes. The cry was an awful, warped scream that seemed to become a gnashing crunch before stopping entirely. Duck Trio's sprite, like Glitchlet, was deformed. Duck Trio's 3 faces with hollow eyes, twisted into pixelated howls that looked somehow painful. The bottom of the sprite was unrecognizable. It looked as though 6 deformed clawed arms were rising from the dirt around Duck Trio's body. My only Pokemon was released, and Glitchlet's back sprite appeared before me. His cry played again, quiet, and seemingly a lot weaker. I was just a bystander now, as the game took control, selecting an attack from the menu. Of course, dig was the only option. My hands were sweaty as I gripped the Game Boy tight. My breath was hot on the screen. Duck Trio went first. Duck Trio used Scratch. It hit 6 times, each tear triggering the pitiful cry from my glitch Pokemon. Glitchlet was left with a sliver of health as he retaliated with an attack of his own. Diglett used Struggle. It hardly made a mark, as expected, but it was strange how Dig had never lost PP before. As previous, the game selected the next move. As attack was chosen, I noticed that Glitchlet seemed suddenly to have no moves. 2 words appeared where the first 2 attacks should have been. No hope. Duck Trio's cry echoed again as it launched an assault of scratches with its deadly, horrible arms. Glitchlet was killed after the first strike. Diglett is dead. Do you want to continue? I didn't really understand the question, but that didn't matter. No was selected for me, and the battle faded away. Back on the overworld, the wall swelled and glitched before my eyes, and the maddening music began again. I inspected Glitchlet. His sprite had changed now. Although his face was never visible, like Duck Trio's, it seemed to be formed into a pixelated scream. Dark brown streaks cut through the sprite. They looked like claw marks. Or blood. I pressed on. I don't know what I was thinking at that stage. Just that this tiny Pokemon had infected my game in a much bigger way than expected. Glitch Pokemon seemed kind of wrong to me then, as though it was something I ought not to have been messing with. Something we didn't understand or couldn't control. With no Pokemon left, I was surprised to find that I didn't black out or warp to a Pokemon Center. The game just continued as usual. It was only a few steps before the Pokemon encounter theme played, and the screen turned black. A wild duck trio appeared. This Pokemon sprite was different to the last. Almost completely disfigured. The cry seemed as though it wouldn't end, screaming and wailing as a pixelated monster appeared on screen. Through the glitches and cut pixels, I could make out the hollow sockets of 8 eyes, 8 terrible clawed hands, and a gaping mouth. With no Pokemon left, my trainer's back sprite faced the glitch head-on. Before my eyes. The screen faded as my Game Boy's batteries cut out. Whatever had just happened gripped me with fear. That night, I didn't sleep. I even took the game out of the now-dead Game Boy, although I'm not sure what that would have done. Days later, I started the game up. I had not saved during what had happened, so I was returned to my last save point. Glitchlet was at the head of my party. Dig, his only move. I thought for a moment, before abandoning that game forever and starting anew. But I'll never forget how it all started and how it all happened. Like something out of a horror movie that keeps on repeating and repeating, over and over and over, whenever I saw that glitch head-on. But everybody has to move on, and I can't seem to forget the whole thing like it never happened. Like digging into my skin and controlling me and my actions. But it's all in my head. I know I must have been hallucinating this whole thing. But when I see that cartridge, all the horrors I feel are still there, waiting for it to come out and scare me forever in my head for eternity to come.